comedy, Major. It went off by accident.
Oh, come on, Anne,
Oh, thank you so much.
Fire!
No!
Yes!
Look, will you get back in there?
British comedy has long been celebrated for its wit, absurdity, and clever social satire, with legendary shows like Fawlty Towers, Monty Python's Flying Circus, and Blackadder still widely remembered. But for every classic that's remained in the spotlight, there are countless others that have faded into obscurity despite their brilliance. Let's take a look. The Goodies. For those who remember the zany antics of the Goodies, this show was a delightful mix of slapstick, surrealism, and sharp wit. Often compared to Monty Python, but with a more physical approach to comedy, the Goodies featured a trio of Tim Brooke-Taylor, Graham Garden, and Bill Oddie as three eccentric problem solvers who took on increasingly absurd assignments. The show's format blended live action with animation, making it a visual spectacle unlike anything else on British television at the time. While its humor was sometimes dismissed as childish, there was a cleverness behind the surface, with satire embedded in its seemingly ridiculous premises. The series' most famous episode, Kitten Kong, saw a giant kitten terrorizing London. A perfect example of how the show took seemingly innocent ideas and escalated them into complete madness. The Goodies' ability to craft elaborate physical comedy, often requiring dangerous stunts, made it unique. Unlike Monty Python's cerebral sketches, the Goodies relied on exaggerated visual gags, making it more accessible to younger audiences while still delivering satirical punches that adults could appreciate. The Fall and Rise of Reginald Perrin.
Reggie, sit down.
Thank you, CJ.
Be firm. Be masterful.
It's only human.
What?
Nothing, CJ. Funnily enough, CJ, I wanted to see
I'll come
you.
straight to the point. I didn't get where I am today by waffling.
No, CJ, no.
Never use two words where one will do. That's my motto. That's my axiom. That's the way I look at things.
Reginald Perrin was not your typical sitcom protagonist. Played masterfully by Leonard Rossiter, Perrin was a middle-aged man trapped in suburban monotony, battling the absurdities of corporate life. The show followed his gradual descent into madness, culminating in his decision to fake his own death in a desperate bid for freedom. What made The Fall and Rise of Reginald Perrin stand out was its dark, satirical edge, an unusual trait for a British sitcom of the time. Unlike many comedies that relied on physical humor or broad caricatures, Reginald Perrin was rooted in biting social commentary. The show's depiction of office light at Sunshine Desserts and the nonsensical jargon of corporate culture still resonates today. Perrin's boss, CJ, with his infamous catchphrase, "I didn't get where I am today by," became a prototype for countless clueless authority figures in later sitcoms. The show's themes of disillusionment and the pressures of middle-class expectations gave it a timeless quality. Reginald's attempts to reinvent himself after his death were both hilariously and painfully relatable. Whether he was founding a commune or selling useless junk, each endeavor exposed new layers of societal absurdity. The show's refusal to provide easy resolutions made it stand out. Perrin was not a hero, nor was he entirely a victim. He was a man who couldn't quite fit into the world around him. Whoops Apocalypse.
Abolish Trident / defense spending by 98%. Cancel the civil list and close down the Daily Telegraph. Total saving £1,000 billion. Any other business. Abolished House of Lords, withdrew from NATO, axed private education and settled the seaman strike. The meeting was adjourned after 10 minutes.
Airing in 1982, Whoops Apocalypse was a biting satire that lampooned Cold War politics, international diplomacy, and nuclear paranoia. While many comedies of the era focused on domestic concerns, this show took a grander, more chaotic approach, depicting a world spiraling toward nuclear war thanks to the sheer incompetence and absurdity of world leaders. The series followed a variety of bizarre characters, including the well-meaning but clueless British Prime Minister, the gung-ho and dangerously unstable U.S. President, and a host of spies, terrorists, and military officials who all seemed to make the world's problems worse. With its dark humor and exaggerated political caricatures, Whoops Apocalypse was a rare blend of slapstick and sharp satire. The Strange World of Gurney Slade.
Well, this is it. I'm going to speak to her. I don't know her, but I'm going to say something. All you fellas like me who've had wordless love affairs with girls in trains, just watch and keep your fingers crossed. Do you come here often?
Not much. This place has gone down a bit, don't you think?
You with anybody?
Yes, I'm with my friend.
Oh? Which one?
If there ever was a British comedy ahead of its time, it was The Strange World of Gurney Slade. Airing in 1960 and starring Anthony Newley, the show was a surreal, fourth-wall-breaking experiment that baffled audiences upon release, but has since gained a reputation as one of television's most daring comedies. The series followed Gurney Slade, a fictional television character who suddenly walks off the set of a conventional sitcom and into a dreamlike stream-of-consciousness world where he interacts with talking animals, inanimate objects, and his own thoughts. Its structure was unlike anything else on British television at the time, resembling more of an existential comedy than a traditional sitcom. Though it was a commercial failure, it influenced later surreal comedies, including Monty Python's Flying Circus and The Mighty Boosh. Chelmsford 1, 2, 3.
Good. So, you were on guard last night,
Yes, sir.
and you stood guard at my door all night?
Oh, yes, sir. If at all, I may have left once, briefly, just to, well, you know,
Go to the bathroom.
go to the bathroom
Right.
back at my house. I wasn't there long. I just went to the toilet, had a spot of dinner, and then put some shelves up. I mean, she's been on at me for months. You know what women are like.
Historical sitcoms are a rarity, but Chelmsford 1, 2, 3 took British comedy back nearly 2,000 years to Roman Britain. Created by the team behind Who Dares Wins, this show combined political satire with farcical antics, much in the spirit of Blackadder. Set in the Roman town of Chelmsford, it followed the power struggles between the arrogant Roman governor, Aulus Paulinus, and the scheming local Briton, Badvock. What made Chelmsford 1, 2, 3 stand out was its ability to use historical settings as the backdrop for contemporary humor. The interactions between the Romans and the Britons mirrored modern-day political disputes, making the show feel strangely relevant despite its ancient setting. The humor was sharp, often poking fun at bureaucracy, colonial arrogance, and the incompetence of leadership, topics that remain just as applicable today. Absolutely.
Hi, yeah. Do you deliver pizzas, yeah? Great, yeah. Could I have a Napolitana, please, quattro formaggio, and 4 seasons, yeah. And 2 garlic breads as well, yeah. And could you get one of the pizzas wrong, yeah? Yeah, anyone you want, yeah, it doesn't matter. And also the garlic breads, just forget them completely.
While sketch comedy is often dominated by English productions, Absolutely was a Scottish show that left an undeniable influence on the genre. Airing between 1989 and 1993, it featured a cast of comedians who would later go on to shape the landscape of British sketch shows, inspiring The Fast Show and Little Britain. Its humor was absurd, surreal, and often deeply rooted in Scottish cultural identity. What made Absolutely special was its unpredictable nature. Sketches veered from the mundane to the completely bizarre, with recurring characters that became cult favorites. The show's Glaswegian pensioners, the Stonybridge Town Council, and the ever-complaining Callum Gillooly all became iconic in their own right. The writing was sharp, and the performances were exaggerated just enough to make the absurdity work. Despite its critical acclaim, Absolutely has faded into obscurity compared to the shows it influenced. Brass.
Look at them. Whole foul hard-acre brood. Isabel, no better than a whore with her naked legs. Aye, and that's other daughter.
Oh, come now, Mother. Miss Charlotte's widely loved for her kind heart and good works.
Aye, keeping the poor content in their misery. Him, that Morris.
What I've been meaning to tell you, Mother. Mr. Morris came into my office this morning and admired my penmanship. He said I had a beautiful hand.
Son of mine, never let one of them hard-acres touch you. It's the touch of evil.
Brass was a satire of northern soap operas, particularly the melodramatic style of Coronation Street. Set in a fictional Lancashire town, the show followed the wealthy Hardacre family and their various feuds with the local working-class residents. What set Brass apart was its biting political humor. Underneath the exaggerated characters and outlandish plots was a sharp critique of class struggles and capitalist greed. The show's writing was dense with wordplay, layered jokes, and double meanings, making it a rewarding watch for those who appreciated intricate comedy. Its cast, led by Timothy West as the ruthless mill owner Bradley Hardacre, delivered performances that balanced caricature with believability. Nightingales.
Oh, of course, the new boy. The new boy. Let me see. That means we have to make him indulge in some demeaning or humiliating initiation ceremony, usually incorporating exposure of said victim's genitalia in an act which, by its very nature, could imply latent homosexual tendencies in the perpetrators of the outrage. Isn't that right there? Hey, would you not say that was an accurate description of the situation, eh, Ding Dong?
Well, you're the puff round here, mate.
Nightingales was an oddity even by British comedy standards. A sitcom about night security guards in a seemingly empty office building. It played like a surrealist stage play. The characters, often discussing life's biggest questions while dealing with increasingly bizarre situations, made it feel like a mix of Waiting for Godot and The Office. The humor in Nightingale was dark, existential, and occasionally unsettling. Its blend of mundane conversations with absurd occurrences created a show that defied categorization. Stella Street.
Remember the Rolling Stones, the legends of rock and roll? One day they were touring America and Mick turns to Keith and says, "Keith, we are starting to look old and stupid. I think it's time we went into the grocery trade." So here it is, Mick and Keith's corner shop in leafy Surbiton.
Here, Keith, have you seen the date on these marshmallows? They are well past their sell-by, they're getting old.
Then they're like us, man, aren't they?
Stella Street had one of the most bizarre premises in British comedy history. A group of celebrities, including Mick Jagger, Jack Nicholson, and Al Pacino, all lived on the same suburban street. What made it even stranger was that all these famous figures were played by a small cast of British comedians. The show's humor was in its absurdity. Seeing Michael Caine run a corner shop or Marlon Brando struggle with mundane suburban life was as ridiculous as it was hilarious. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you remember any of these forgotten comedy shows? Let us know in the comments section below.